My name is Dave Marion. I'm Mayor Massa's campaign manager. Everybody knows that healthcare in our country is in a state of crisis right now, and I'd like to introduce Eric Massa, who's going to say a few words about that first.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us today to talk about something that I think is absolutely critical, not just to the future of the country, but to the immediate needs of millions of children, not only in the United States, but focused right here in the 29th Congressional District. You know, getting a child to go see a doctor should not be a political decision. It should not be partisan in nature, and it shouldn't involve Republicans versus Democrats or any other political decision at all. It should be done because it is the right thing to do. And the reality is that we live right now in a moment of opportunity. That tomorrow, the United States Congress will vote to override President Bush's mean-spirited, fiscally irresponsible decision to deny some 10 million children in the United States of America the access to the health care that they need. The expanded state children's health insurance program, paid for by the cost of a pack of cigarettes, is the right thing to do. And it expands health coverage through private insurance companies to all children in the United States. Now, this has been up for a vote several times. In fact, 3 times, Congressman Randy Poole, upon whom I challenge and call today to vote against George Bush and for our children, has already voted against this bill 3 times. Unfortunately, he has spent hundreds of thousands of your dollars, your taxpayer dollars, mailing out a flyer that misleads and tells his voters the exact opposite. To quote Congressman Poole, "No child in New York should ever have to live without health coverage." We all agree with that. The reality is that tomorrow he has a chance to act on his words. And so we are gathered here today to call upon Randy Poole to stand with the children of New York, the United States of America, Rochester, and all the towns of the 29th Congressional District, instead of rubber stamping George Bush's failed policies and being a slave to the tobacco lobby. It's a simple request. It's clear, it's concise, and it's truthful. The reality that we face today is one where tomorrow there's a very simple decision that can be made. Will we continue to have people in Washington, D.C. who stand with lobbyists instead of children, who act as they're told to by President Bush instead of their constituents, or will we choose a new direction? I don't believe that health care should be a partisan political issue, especially access to a doctor's visit by a child. Now, here are some facts. Randy Poole has voted against children's health care 3 times in this past year. That's congressional record. That's not a partisan statement. That's not Republicans versus Democrats. It's just a simple statement of fact. He is now poised again to sustain George Bush's most recent veto of a bill that met all of the requirements. No access to health care for children of undocumented residents in this country, sometimes called illegal aliens. No access for adults, and only those at or below a certain percentage of the poverty level. So it's very clearly spelled out. All the objections that Tom DeLay's legacy government has raised to getting children to go see the doctor have been met clearly and concisely. This is the 3rd iteration. There's no more debate. It's an up or down. Do you support children's health care or don't you? 70% of all Americans support this bill. It's a bipartisan, overwhelmingly supported economic measure. And it has the support of such very well-known national conservatives as, I dare say, Senators Orrin Hatch and Senator Charles Grassley, who are the authors of a great deal of this bill. So again, Democrats and Republicans have come together to solve a pressing national problem. Only George Bush and his rubber stamp roadblocks stand between this and successful implementation. Let me just add 1 or 2 final points. We woke up this morning with the Dow Jones Industrials falling 450 points. This country is slipping not into a recession, but far beyond that. The monies and returning federal tax dollars, our federal tax dollars, that are being returned or could be returned to New York through this federal health care bill would act as a significant economic stimulus in our local economies. It's part and parcel combined with intelligent government action to both save this nation from 1929 and provide access to health care for all children. So today, I, you, we all call on our our representative in Congress to do the right thing, stand up, tell the truth, and vote against George W. Bush. With that, I'll take your questions, both from members of the press and from those gathered. Please. Pending further questions, I'll make myself available after the press conference. It's a pretty clear-cut matter. This is the reason that people don't ask too many questions, because it's up or down, yes or no. This is not something that's hard to understand. We have many doctors with us here today. We have many physicians who have stood with us with years of experience, and we have those who only face the challenge of going to the doctor. And this reality that we face is a very simple yes or no. Do you stand for it, or do you stand against it? Yes, sir.
Why is Randy Cool so opposed?
Well, I would have to ask you to ask him why Randy Cool is so opposed, because he has said in his taxpayer-paid flyers that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars that he's not. So
I got that myself.
This came to my house.
Yes.
So if you're going to send out a glossy, full-color, taxpayer-paid, in fact, I'll just read I have my glasses, the very small print, you have to get a magnifying glass out. This mailing was prepared, published, and mailed at taxpayer expense. So if you're going to spend taxpayers' money on a campaign mailing, you might as well do what you say you're going to do. And that's what we're calling upon him and all leaders in Congress to do today. It's the right thing. And frankly, anyone who says that denying a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old, someone to have preventative checkups so that they don't end up in the emergency room is not representing the values that I grew up with. Final questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Perhaps to respond to criticism that this bill is the first step towards a government takeover of the healthcare system.
The question is, could I respond to the accusations that this bill is the first step towards government takeover of healthcare? Well, we already live in a society where for-profit HMOs have taken over healthcare and denied 47 million Americans the ability to go to a doctor. This is not a government takeover. In fact, it is your tax dollars brought back to New York State, given to private health insurance companies in block insurance policies to insure as many children as possible at the lowest cost possible. The main opposition to this is coming from the tobacco industry and the tobacco lobbyists, who are funding the congressional campaigns of people like Randy Cool, who do not want to see tobacco taxes increased. When you ask me what do I think is more important, children going to see the doctor or raising the cost of a pack of cigarettes, I stand with children going to the doctor. So I believe that those criticisms are absolutely unfounded and baseless. But people are going to politicize this. Let me go back to my very first statement. Going to see the doctor should not be a Republican versus a Democrat decision. This is the most nonpartisan bill in the 110th Congress. It was authored and supported by some of the most conservative members of that elected body. It's about time for George Bush to get on board and give permission to his rubber stamps to support this. I saw another question. Yes, sir.
This is a comment. I think that it's very bothersome that the bill would deny medical care to children because their parents did something illegal. But that's just what it takes to defend other people. So be it. It's just a sad commentary.
The comment focuses on the opposition that Randy Cool has had to this bill because some illegal residents of this country may have access to emergency health care on an as-need basis. And I agree with you. To live in a country where our emergency rooms are closed to anyone who has a medical emergency is frankly very troubling. But as you said, our job is to expand health care for children in as large a way as possible, as quickly as possible. And if this is the verbiage that's needed to do to get to 10 million children, and we've answered those requirements and claims, then now is the time for Randy Cool to come clean and join other like-minded bipartisan leaders and fund this bill instead of playing taxpayer-played games with his $100,000 mailers. This is simply not a good use of your money. How many children could go see the doctor for the cost of this being mailed out in his propagandistic manner? It's time to put an end to this nonsense. Washington is broken. You know it. We know it. It's about time to make sure that they know it. Final questions or comments? Again, thank you very much for your interest and your support in this critical issue. I trust that you'll send letters to the editor, that you'll contact your elected representatives, that you'll get involved in the process so that all of us working together can bring a higher standard of leadership to Washington, D.C. on these and many other critical issues. Thank you very much.